sort of thinking we must have released something there, because this is the third time it's shown up, but that's the biggest it's shown up. So whether it's been, released from the DNA finally, or whether it's been released from some of the biofilm and mucoid plaque. I'm sure I would have told you this story, but when I was at a Congress on chronic fatigue and stealth infections about 10 years ago, there were all these researchers from all over Australia and the world, and they were talking about stealth infections and how they can live in our DNA, how they can live in our mitochondria, or the particles can live in the biofilm in the body. So what the medical, because of course if things don't show up in the blood tests, medically they don't have a way of prescribing for it. So what do? So what they ended up doing was going, well, we feel like it's an infection because there's all these side effects, or there's all this body tissue damage going on. So they would do 3 lots of antibiotics, high doses, for 9 months. And what that tended to do was break down the biofilm enough to release the bacterial and viral particles that were just lying latent in the biofilm, and then get released out into the body. So when something shows up the worst it's ever shown, when we've been working on it for like 6 months, I sort of think, well, maybe that's the next level of something, being released out into the bloodstream so that your immune system can finally deal with it. Because bugs are clever. Bugs will hide. Bugs will they will break apart and go find biofilm for themselves to live in. Okay. Once again, any organs connected with this? Okay, and I know we went through the whole family of the HHV viruses last time, so we'll just recheck them again, because a few showed up last time. Okay, HHV1, and hold, HHV2, HHV3, HHV4, So HHV4 is Epstein-Barr virus. It can cause all sorts of bits and pieces around the body. It can come through as a retrovirus, so from our mother's DNA. CMV, HHV5, HHV6A, HHV6B, HHV7. And HHV8. Right, so this is heaps better to last time. Beautiful. Okay. Really happy with those. Once again, any organs being affected by any and all residue of HHV viruses. No, it's pretty good. Good, good, good. Okay. Just double check with any and all HPV viruses. That's good. Oops. The other one was good too. That was HIV, which also didn't show up. Just checking. Okay, good old histamine again. So I suppose since it's a pH balance at its core, histamine is an amino acid, so it will be changing the pH everywhere it lays down. Main areas it builds down are the brain, the spine, the gut, and the uterus, and female organs. So, in relation to histamine. I suppose if there's still damaged tissue, there's probably still release of histamine, and it still might be building up even with all the Brock shots and vitamin C and everything. But once again, sort of just checking. And once again, checking stomach in relation to the release of DAO, diamine oxidase. And hold. Release of diamine oxidase enough to deal with any histamine laying down in the body. And hold. Okay, well, let me check the immune system and make sure the diamine oxidase isn't messing with the immune system, either having to increase its level. Hold. Ah, right, okay. Interesting. Haven't checked that before. Okay, is the DAO affecting any organs? Kidneys. So kidneys is the last filter of the body. It releases a whole bunch of bicarb soda. Okay, so in relation to the DAO. And hold up. And hold up. Yeah. Again, I'll double check MCAS, it hasn't shown up before. Still not showing, okay, good. Double check all the histamine receptors, make sure none of them need waking up. No, that's good. I was just checking any and all STIs, just making sure. Yeah, and just generally, dysbiosis. SIBO didn't show up, but both fungus and candida did. So dysbiosis is that imbalance that creates the wrong microbe combination. And as you know, we always do minus all supplements, minus any medication as well. So I'm just sort of checking the biodiversity of the microbiome in your gut, and the dysbiosis is still affecting it in there, because a couple of the strains of candida are quite systemic as a general rule. Okay, so I've picked mycotoxins. I don't think any of these have ever shown up before. I'm just going to check because SIRS showed up today, which, you know, sometimes has to do with molds. I just want to check more specifically, make sure. There's about 20 of them that I've got in my list. No, good. Fantastic. Nothing parasitic, nothing prion, nothing protozoal. Proviruses, they can get into the genome and come through cells and become an oncogene. They're not showing up. Yeah, we know about the retroviruses.